The hours of sunlight are dwindling and it is becoming a lot darker a lot quicker. And in the midst of the season change, I am trying to embrace it with as much grace as possible. I have been making more cups of tea and warm drinks, snuggling up with a book and a throw, and just trying to slow down. It can be quite normal for humans to feel down and slower during these months, and I really lean into lessons that I learned from observing animals, and there are a lot of animals that hibernate during the winter season, and I think humans are somewhat similar, but unfortunately we live in setups that ask for us to be productive throughout the year in the same way, in the same capacity, and for a lot of people, myself included, that just doesn't feel very sustainable. In the last few months, I've been thinking a lot more about my grandma. I lost her last year, and she was someone that I was incredibly close to for a large part of my life. She was inspirational in so many ways, but I absolutely love and miss her gentleness in the way that she was with people and the way she went about her life. She was 92 years old when she passed away, and she had lived a very long and comfortable life, but she had also had her fair share of stories, and unfortunately towards the end of her life she was quite consumed by her lack of independence and her illnesses. How I wish I could go back and really learn from her experiences in life, because I think part of what has been so difficult about losing someone is not only losing who they are in your life, but also losing the stories and the history that came with them, and that has forever gone now. My grandma moved to the UK when she was in her 50s or 60s, and she really struggled with the adjustment to living here. I think the change in weather presumably would have been one of the most difficult, but also leaving behind a land that her ancestors had lived in must have been incredibly difficult. She really was somebody that spoke very passionately about her love for education. She spoke about how she studied until the 9th grade, until she was taken out of school to marry my grandfather, who actually she ended up having a very good relationship with. She only spoke of him incredibly highly. But I always wondered, when she was taken out of school, how that made her feel. We never had a conversation about how that even happened. You know, did she have warning? Did she just suddenly get taken out one day? Or had she grown up knowing that this was going to be part of her future and she was just waiting and expecting this? There is so much to be learned from ordinary stories of ordinary people. And I think my biggest recommendation to people is, if you have elders in your life and in your community, sit down with them and speak to them about their experiences growing up, their experiences of marriage, of school, of all of the mundane, ordinary things that they may not even think to mention, because you may never have that opportunity ever again. When I was growing up, I grew up with a very narrow lens of what a Tamil-speaking woman in the northeast of Sri Lanka could have grown up like. And I had these perceptions that we lived in very patriarchal systems. And even though that is very true to some extent, I think what I really have grown in appreciation for is actually how many matriarchal aspects there were to a household like my grandma's. Her autonomy that she had in deciding how the day-to-day house was run, how they fed and raised their children, in managing the land that she owned with my grandfather, in managing the workers that also helped them with looking after the land and the home. Also in just her levels of independence in travel. My family have told me often that she would travel by train to the cities and go out for dinners and dances, and engaged in a really active social life as well. My view of her life and the one that she lived as actually being a very empowering one in some ways has really helped shift the narrative for me that actually we live in households with incredibly strong and inspiring women. My grandma was always incredibly encouraging of me pursuing education and setting myself up financially so that I wasn't dependent on another person. And she always told me to take my time in finding a partner. She always encouraged me to not settle for just anybody. And I really find it incredible that a woman that was in her 90s, who had come from such a different place in life and seen so many things, had such a refreshing perspective on life. And I just wish that we could sit down and talk about that more. As I move through life, I really channel my grandma and my ancestors when I think about where I've come from and where I'm going, and I'm so grateful for the freedom that I have in being able to choose what is important to me and what I value. I'm in a position where I can choose to be married or to not be married, or to have children or to not have children, and I can really question all of the societal norms that I was raised with. It really fills me with pride, joy, and a lot of gratitude for how much we have to look forward to, and actually how I can create these opportunities for other people around me and work towards a world in which everyone can benefit from those same freedoms. And even though I'm trying to slow down now and take it a bit easier as the winter sets in, I have a lot of ideas for videos in my drive that I am going to start spending a lot more time putting together for you all. But I do want to do that in a slow and sustainable way, and I definitely don't want to be a slave to the algorithm. Till the next time, Poitu Vango.